Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a 10,000 Takes exclusive interview. Coming up, we'll be interviewing former Golden Gopher defensive tackle Ed Hawthorne. I'm, of course, JJ, the greatest journalist to ever do it. I'm joined by Bossman and joined by Wags. How you guys doing today? Are you guys excited?
I'm so excited to meet Ed.
Got to throw Bossman vlogs in there. Wow.
Oh my
9.
God.
We're almost on our second slash, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm excited to talk to Ed, man. I don't know, I don't know what life in the 90s was like in terms of going to college. I've heard stories, but especially as an athlete, it'll be really interesting to hear.
And he played on some pretty good Minnesota Gopher teams too, and he is a former NFL player. I mean, this is actually 10,000 Takes history. This is going to be the first former pro athlete that we ever interview. I mean, NFL pro athlete. We have, Craig DeLay was gracious enough to be on the show. He played in the CFL, Arena Football League, and stuff like that. But this is our first ever former NFLer, so we're really excited about that.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when Ed went to the U, they took the axe twice because that was the back-to-back 93-94. Junior and senior year for him. So I mean that's
super rare for Minnesota.
That's rare. You don't ever see Minnesota beat them more. I mean, in
it's
our
never
lifetime,
part of the conversation.
What the hell? They beat them once in the last 15 years. Like, what the hell? So I'm genuinely just curious to hear what his experience was with that, because that's just to see them beat them 2 years in a row is just weird to think about. That's going to be crazy.
It's sad that it's that way, but it's still going to be exciting to talk to someone who actually got to go through that. So you guys ready to fucking start this thing?
Let's do it.
Freaking do it.
Ed Hawthorne.
Well, I want to welcome Ed Hawthorne, our special guest, a former defensive lineman from the University of Minnesota, played there from 1990 to 1994. Thanks for joining us, Ed. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I kind of want to learn a little bit about yourself, a little bit of background about yourself. So tell me, where did you grow up, and kind of how did you fall in love with the game of football? How did you get into the game of football?
I grew up. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. So you can tell there's a few guys on the current team that are coming. They're starting to get more kids there from Missouri. I fell in love with football. It was just one of the only sports that I could do. Believe it or not, that was basically the only sport besides track that I ever did growing up. Reason being, I think it was an expense, and my mom told me pick one, and I picked football, and it just so happened to be a good one. Early on, I was not that good. I was that kid that a coach would pull to the side, and basically it was old school coaching where he would actually tell you you're horrible. I don't know why you're out here. You're wasting my time and you're wasting everybody else's time. Wow. And I think I started at the age of 12, and I didn't play anymore until high school. And I still had that little grudge because I felt like I knew I could play because I had family members that were good athletes. My cousin actually is Daryl Thompson. So
really?
When he came to the U, that was, one of those door opening situations for me. So when you have a family that's athletic, I think Daryl and I were the only one that took football to the next level. We have basketball players and volleyball players in our family. So when I was in high school, it still was a struggle for me. I should say I had a lot of learning to do. I wasn't that guy that you look at and you say, he's a superstar. Wow, this guy he's going to be everything. I just got lucky. I was recruited in high school, the local Division I, Division II school, Division 1A schools in Missouri, but nothing big. But I had a chip on my shoulder. So being a short, stout, chubby guy, and always told that you weren't good enough. And the only reason basically in high school that some of my classmates would say is the only reason you're playing is because you're a bigger guy. That put a chip on my shoulder. So like I said, believe it or not, coming out of high school, I was not all state, all metro, all anything. I was an honorable mention guy. But what set me apart from everybody else is that I had a drive and a work ethic. I wanted to keep getting better, and I had a chip on my. I still had a chip. You can look close, you'll see it right there.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we'll zoom the camera in on it and see if we can catch it.
Yeah.
There it is, right there.
Oh yeah.
So
I got it.
I always,
still there.
It's one of those that when you're a guy that you never were told you're good enough, you're always trying to fight and always trying to do better. That just kept me in drive. And then once I start figuring out the game, that's when I actually started really loving it. And once I understood what my job was, I started to master being an actual defensive lineman / nose guard. Once I figured that out, the door was wide open. So I'm an only child. I have no brothers or sisters. Parents are divorced. They divorced when I was young. Both parents were in my life. They weren't the typical parents where they would be in your ear. You need to do this. You need to do that. Why you're not doing this? So-and-so's doing that or whatever. They just let me play. Up until my last year of playing football, my dad always thought I played offensive nose guard. So it goes to show you how, how my parents were. And my mom, she was finally glad that I was done, even though I had a lot of success with football. Yep. She didn't like it,
Why didn't she like it? Was she worried about your safety?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she was worried I was going to get hurt or a typical mom.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a pretty classic mom worry.
Yeah, right there. Yep. I don't want you getting hurt. I don't want you getting hit. No.
Jake's mom still says that to him when he plays pickup.
So like you said earlier, you're from St. Louis. What really attracted you to come to the University of Minnesota?
Yeah.
Well, I like being in the city. If I didn't have any other choice to go, if Minnesota didn't offer me, I would have went to a small school in Missouri somewhere, just so I can play football. But I like being in the city. I'm a city boy, grew up, raised. I like the urban environment. I just like being out, being around people. Yeah. At the U, you could walk from campus downtown. I didn't have a car. Yeah. So I would walk from campus to downtown, which people thought I was crazy. I'm like, well, it was a $5 cab drive, but I didn't have any money. So I saved my $5 and I go walk.
And you got that exercise though.
You got some training.
Yeah.
Can't that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's perfect. What were some of the hot spots you went down in downtown Minneapolis back in the early 90s?
Probably before you guys will know, but Prince had a club. It was a frequent place that all the celebrities would come in town. It was called Glam Slam. It was, you get in, you're in. I mean, it was just a fantastic place. You see, from any NBA team to baseball players to stars to actors to anyone would be right there in the crowd. And it was just, there to be in Prince's club. And you see Prince. We got to go up in the area where Prince was.
That's awesome.
We didn't say anything to Prince, but because his bodyguard was 7 feet tall.
Yeah, right.
I can imagine.
Was he regularly there?
Yeah, he comes to his club all the time.
Wow, that's awesome.
Even if he was there for 5 minutes, he'd show up, hang out, but it was not in the crowd down. He had 2 levels. He had a VIP section and then a regular section. So we got to experience both. During the off season, I got to work downtown. I used to work at still there. It's called Loom Cafe.
Oh yeah.
Around the corner. Fantastic place. Love that place. They took me under their wing, gave me a job when I was able to work. And it was right there in the city. So that was another reason why I walked downtown.
Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned old school coaching. Do you think that current college athletes are a little bit too coddled? Because the way it sounds like old school coaching really helped you get that chip on your shoulder and really become an NFL caliber player.
Yeah.
To a point. You can have a coach that can yell, but also tell you the positives and try and find a way. Like the coach, when I was 12 years old, my little league coach that told me I was the worst player ever. Yeah. I was one of the fastest guys on the team. I was one of at that time, I wasn't the biggest guy, but I was one of the fastest guys, but he didn't know how to teach me. He didn't know how to show me how to be a offensive lineman or a defensive lineman. He just put me out there and said, go block that guy. What do you mean block that guy? Coming out of high school, I just I just played on sheer talent in high school, just want to, as we used to call it. When I came to college, my defensive lineman coach, the first defensive lineman coach that ever said, okay, son, we got to start you from square one. I don't know if you know what a blocking like a chicken wing is, but when you come off the ball, your hands are like this here.
Yeah.
The defensive line coach stopped and said, what the hell is that? What are you doing? I'm like, this is the way I don't know how to come off the ball. He goes, nope, we're going to start from square one. Got me in the stands, showed me how to come off the ball, showed me how to use these hands, these mangled fingers here. And that's when it started to click, and then you start watching film. But I had to learn as a young guy from the beginning. But when you get to college, my recruiter was Bishop Harris. He was a running back coach.
Oh, cool.
He saw something in some film, and he's like, all right. You know, because for a long time, even though my cousin was a super stud here, and he's still a super stud, I wouldn't be here without him. But his coach was the recruiter, and he saw me, and he just saw something in me. Now, in high school, I was my senior year, I played kicker, offensive line, defensive line. And I also dabbled a little bit in the running position.
You played kicker too.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
So
you were just a Swiss Army knife for the high school team.
Yeah, so I just like, I'll try it.
Resume.
And, you know, until that guy ran a 90-yard touchdown back, I was a kicker, and then I couldn't catch it
until that day. No, that's awesome.
Now you talk about like coaching styles and stuff. Now, was the head coach, was it Jim Wacker back then?
My first coach when I first got here, his name was John Gudick. He was a defensive-minded coach. Fantastic guy, had a great defense. And I also had, and then after he was fired, sadly, I got Jim Wacker.
Yeah.
Another great guy, energetic guy, and everybody always asks, oh, is this fake? No. He was 100% energetic. Every day you saw him. Always had an open door, but he would also chew you out if you had to. Yeah. You know.
Is he as energetic as Fleck? Or was he?
Not that. No.
Like he's.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure that's hard to top, though.
Yeah,
I'd imagine.
You know, he's he's at the time. I think Fleck is probably 30 years younger than when Jim Wacker was my coach. So.
Yeah.
You know, Coach Wacker didn't run out on the field like that. No. And, in between quarters, he couldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Fleck is an energetic guy.
I mean, there was that one instance where it did bite him in the ass, though, when he ran out during the injury. I think Chris John, it was like third down and 5, and Johnson caught the ball just 1 yard short, and then, or no, maybe it was on the line. Then Fleck ran out there, and we didn't end up getting the first down because we got penalized.
Yeah. Well, that's his passion. He had to go out there and make sure he was all right.
Yep. Yeah, I guess
but
you
that's
can.
Why I'm pretty sure he has somebody on the sideline holding his waistband from now on to make sure. Hold on.
Yeah, they got a rope. They got a rope around him. It's like a leash. Like, whoa.
But hey, you
don't run out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often did you with the head? So football, I've never played football, and there's tons of different coaches on the team, obviously. Right. How often did you have one-on-ones with the head coach, or is it almost always with your positional coach?
It's usually with your position coach. The head coach knows who you are. I mean, a good head coach knows every player, and especially he knows everything about you. Your position coach is your guy. I mean, he is the one that you confide into your deepest, darkest secrets if you want to. But he's the one that you're going to have to deal with because he's the one who's going to get in your butt outside of having a team meeting. Because when you get one-on-ones or group position meetings, he's the one that's going to tear you apart in front of everybody.
Sure.
So your position coach.
Yep.
That's cool. Well, kind of shift gears a little bit. I know that you talked about the downtown scene a little bit, but what were as far as on campus goes back then, what was the party scene like? Did you have any crazy party experiences back when you were a student there?
Not crazy party. I mean, it's a typical college time. You know, when you're in college, there's parties everywhere.
Right.
I don't know how it is. I mean, I used to go to fraternities. There was a bar on campus in Dinkytown called Foul Play. When I was a sophomore, there used to be, Station 19, which is now Buffalo Wild Wings. The manager / owner of that place, his name is Mike Rosie. Still talk to him when I see him every now and then. He runs Maxwell's. He's big wig over at Maxwell's downtown. He also ran Foul Play.
That's cool.
That was a normal hangout. My wife actually had an apartment across the street from there that's now this big multiplex building, but she lived on the second floor, and we would go in her apartment, and we could sit on the balcony and wait till the crowds got too big, and then we'd come out and go over to the bar. That bar had 3 levels: a top floor restaurant, middle section restaurant, bar, and then it had a peanut bar down in the basement. I mean, it was,
just the
good time.
Just let me think what I'm trying to say here. Fun at every level.
Yeah.
That actually does sound pretty sweet, though, like a multi-level bar. I mean, you don't see anything more than 2 floors right now. Or
no.
Balconies are unheard of for safety risks.
Yeah.
Right.
And this bar, what you said was the old, what is now Buffalo Wild Wings, or is that?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
Cool.
If
Okay.
you look outside, you'll see a sign that says Station 19. It actually, I believe the history of it used to be a firehouse.
Oh, okay.
And then it
That's
was
cool.
a bar, and then it closed down, and then now they reopened it to some businesses at first, and now they put the Buffalo Wild Wings in there a few years back. But now they have anything they want, they can get
everything
at the touch
now.
of a finger. Deliveries. We had the House of Hanson, which is now, I don't know what's on the corner of that. I was just over there not too long ago, but a little small grocery store overpriced you for a little pint of ice cream. I think back then that pint of ice cream was $5, but it was family owned.
Yeah.
Well, and kids don't have to walk as much as you did, Ed.
No,
they don't even know the struggle.
No,
Uber everywhere.
Kids these days are like, oh, my Wi-Fi connection sucks. Ugh. It's like, well, no, you didn't have to walk downtown every day.
Oh, heaven forbid. Now you got you have the light rail too. Like,
true, yeah.
The light rail is
it's very convenient.
So slick, very convenient. But just the fact that people are walking, back during when you were going to school, that's crazy. Now it's just you can get Uber or take the light rail, like get around. That's crazy.
Ed, my biggest question for you is we here at 10,000 Takes, and as you know, as the state of Minnesota and beyond, are big haters of the Wisconsin Badgers.
Right.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys beat the Badgers 2 years in a row for the Axe, right? Was it 93 and 94?
We did.
How describe that experience, because the listeners at home.
What's sad is not – go ahead. All right.
I was going to say the listeners at home would love to hear from your experience.
What's sad is not brought up enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's not brought up enough, but it's unbelievable. I think in 93, of course they were projected to win both times, but when they came in our house, if you remember if you could look at some old footage, that's back when they used to wear cowboy hats and things like that. The ladies would have the red cowboy hats on. They looked like Nebraska coming in. And to see, they get punched in the mouth by a team that wasn't allegedly that good, and to be able to beat them in our house is unbelievable. And this was back when you could they snuck in bottles of alcohol, not the plastic stuff. We had to put our helmets back on because they were throwing bottles at us.
Like glass ones, or like
glass?
You said plastic.
Like fifths of whiskey or vodka or whatever.
People are throwing fifths on the field. That's
a
different time.
They're throwing in at 20-year-olds too. That's crazy.
Well, what? Like they sneak in their coat, or what? Like, how did they get away with that?
Good question. Well, they still sneak stuff in now, but if you could just imagine, we had to put our helmets on. But the one that really sticks out is 1994 when we went to their house. So if you can imagine, I don't know if you've been to the stadium. I refuse to go back to that stadium, even though I have some friends that are from Wisconsin that are Badgers and things like that. I actually am really good friends with the Bucky Badger mascot from 90 to 94.
Really?
Yeah, from 94.
Yeah.
And his wife was a cheerleader. We were really good friends, love him to death. But in 94, driving into campus, you have to drive down Fraternity Row, right? So we're driving down Fraternity Row, and all the frats and sororities all mooned us as our bus drove by.
Oh my God, those Wisconsin people, man.
Terrible people. I wasn't born there, but I lived there for a number of years. And
sorry about that.
Well, it's all right.
Well, I went to a game in 2014 at Camp Randall, and like as soon as we walked out of the car and we're Minnesota stuff, it was me and my dad just someone just yells "fuck Minnesota" and just
a target on your back.
Crazy, man. Like I went to Iowa, and they were welcoming, but Wisconsin people were just crazy.
Right. Well, I'll tell you this. So we drive in, the fire is burning. We're the underdogs. Here they are again. They're gonna be Big Ten champs or whatever back then. I don't think they called it Big Ten champs. Well, they did, but it wasn't the East and West. So we roll in. It's a battle. They're not whatever they're supposed to do. It's not working. The big goons up front aren't making enough holes big enough for Brent Moss to run through.
Yep.
And there was a pier where I was actually sitting on the sideline, and at the time I think they had a walkway behind our bench where fans could come by and walk by. So usually during the game, I'm so into the game I don't pay attention if my mom would yell or call or whatever. And all of a sudden I hear this little soft voice going, "Hey Hawthorne, hey Hawthorne," and I'm like, I'm not turning around because probably my mother's trying to trick me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, fine, I'll turn around. It was a little kid, I kid you not, and he goes, "You fucking suck." So I turned around. The kid couldn't be no more than 12 years old.
Right.
So I turn around, and he's with his dad. And I looked at his dad, and his dad goes, "Hell yeah!"
What are you teaching your kids here? What the
Terrible
hell?
parenting 101.
My dad would have kicked my ass.
Right.
Seriously.
So needless to say, they lost the game.
Yeah.
And we went back. So we went back, celebrated in the locker room, celebrated on the field. And as we were leaving, driving down Frat Row, our fantastic strength coach had the bus slow down, and he mooned the whole entire Frat Row as we drove by.
Sweet revenge.
Who's laughing now, frat kids?
Right.
Seriously.
But then again, they'll say, "Oh, that was a long time ago. Who has it now?" Blah 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 blah.
Well, here's one thing I like to say is that Wisconsin does have more losses in the Rose Bowl than we do. So I guess we'll just hang our heads to that one.
Including that, they've never won a national title. The Gophers have 7.
Yeah, I mean, it's math.
Doesn't matter when it was. They always say it was in the 40s and 50s. That doesn't matter. I mean, that was when football was rough too. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But they'll never admit it. So
nope.
They're the now. So is what they say. Look at the record now. Blah blah blah.
That's all they care about now. Oh, man.
So when you were a player, Ed, did you like playing in those old school white uniforms with your dark gold helmet? Like, those are some of the slickest uniforms I've actually seen the Gophers have.
You don't see anything like that.
Yeah.
Outside of Florida State.
Well, it's the new world. I think we had one pair of pants, if I remember.
Okay.
One color pants. We had 2 different jerseys and 1 helmet. So each year they would change. I think my senior year, my helmets were gold, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
I think we got a picture of you here, and it's gold.
Yep, like it's kind of like a.
So it's either the old class, but now they have multiple, and I'm like, when is enough?
Ed, this is kind of a defensive lineman question, but did you ever have any really good sacks where you'd talk shit to the QB while he's laying on the ground? Because you always see that in the movies, and you don't know if it actually happens that much. Or were you like respectful?
I never did because I kept my mouth shut.
Yeah.
I was never a trash talker, but people would talk trash to me. I didn't have many sacks at the time. I was more of a run stopper, run plugger. Because usually I was inside in between the guard and tackle. Every now and then I would line up outside the guard. But if you remember, when we played teams, they were able to run a lot, so they didn't have to pass as much. So I was mainly a run guy.
Okay.
So I didn't have too many sacks. I never talked trash. I got mad. I was always mad, but I never really trash talked. I had one kid from my senior, I think it was Kansas State. before the game even started, he's just jawing. He come walking up to the line like, I'm gonna kick your, you know what, and you little short, fat, stubby son of a gun. And I'm going, all right, well, the game's on. Yeah. Well, it just so happens his left tackle, the tackle that was next to him, was an All-American.
Oh, okay.
And he is from St. Louis, Missouri. And I looked at this guy, and he looked at me and shook his head like he's a dummy. And I said, yeah, he is, but guess what?
Okay.
So it turns out that play, the first play, I didn't care if it was a run or pass. I was going to blow by him real quick just to let him know it's going to be a long day, and I got to sack that game for that.
Nice.
And he did it again, got the sack. He gets up, and he goes, that was luck. I'm going to kick your, you know what, you dirty. That was not this and that. I'm like, all right.
Just kept running his mouth.
That's like,
woo,
dude.
Did it again. What do you think they did to him that time? They pulled him out of the game.
Well, and I feel like, too, tactically it's not good to talk shit to the person you're playing against because that just makes them angry. First, it makes them angry, and now they're going to be even more aggressive when you're up against them, and you just fuel the fire even more. I feel like that's kind of common sense, right?
Especially it does, especially when you have a guy with a chip on his shoulder.
Exactly.
He didn't. Right? I don't think he saw the chip. I don't think he was looking closely enough.
He didn't see it.
That was on him.
Yeah.
He just saw a short little fat guy that he thought he could overpower. Well, today was his day.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, kind of going off of that a little bit. I mean, what was your personal greatest memory as a player, like on the field? Was there a specific player memory on the field that you still remember to this day that really sticks out to you?
Oh, Chuck. No, I remember a lot of plays.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, being an underdog, I mean, I had a lot of, what I did a lot of was I had a lot of tackle for losses. There were times running back, if I didn't catch him, would have been gone off the edge.
Yep.
Just by playing good, hard-nosed, smart football. So I don't have any specific, but I think that Kansas State game my senior is one of those ones that, sadly it took that long.
Yeah.
That it was just I'm always in a zone where I don't see or hear anything out there until after the play's over. But that game probably was one of my best games. I mean, I had maybe 3 tackle for losses. They tried to pull up a running back to block me. They couldn't, it was just one of those games. But I had a lot of.
And you blocked that one guy all the way to the bench. So, I mean, that's memorable.
That's awesome.
No, I
pushed him all the way there for the most part.
No, I did a quick swim move. It was one of those.
Oh, nice.
Where
broke
it's
his
like,
ankles.
So I just went, whoop, swim moved him, and he was behind me. So he didn't expect that coming. He would expect the bull rush. That's the thing. A lot of guys, he's just going to bull rush, and he probably thought that's what I was going to do because I was mad. So I just tricked him and did a swim move, and off he went.
You just had the speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a chubby Aaron Donald.
Nice. Huh.
Do you have like any who was your favorite team to play when you were playing for the University of Minnesota? Is there any teams that really got you really pumped up to get going? I mean, obviously Wisconsin, but besides them?
Well, Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, pretty much anybody. I didn't care who we played, just as long as I could line up. Because you'll keep hearing me say this. I was an underdog. Mm-hmm. So all these guys that I played against were either All-American somewhere, highly recruited guys, and here I am, an honorable mention guy, just gonna beat the crap out of them just to say, oh, guess what? I'm not that guy who was highly recruited, because you have a lot of guys that got offers all over the country where I didn't. So I'm always trying to, put that in there, and I tell kids it doesn't make a difference where you go, how you get there, just as long as you get there.
Well, and that's kind of how 10,000 Takes is in the blogging community right now. We're the greatest underdogs ever do it, is what some people would say. Yeah. These guys can agree. So we're all about 100%. The underdog mentality.
Yeah. It's not a bad mentality to have. You always just got to be moving forward, man.
Yep.
What made you go from being the underdog to being the 1994 All Big Ten first team selection? I mean, that's a huge step up and a huge honor to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard work, man. Yeah. It's one of those, like I'm telling my boys nicely, there's 3 things I always did. I respected the game. Mm-hmm. I mastered the craft, and I believed in the message. So it made no difference what coach I had. Whatever he told me to do, I was going to do it.
Yep.
And in order for me to be successful on the field, I had to learn. Had to actually learn the game from the running back positions to the lineups of the offense to what my guard in front of me, my opponent next week, what he's going to do, how does he flinch, does he have any pre-snap reads, things like that. Where do they like to run the ball? When do they like to run the ball? Stuff like that. It was just plain old, just learning, mastering the craft. You know, when it was time for me to go in, either I go to practice early to work on stuff or I would stay late. Just pure hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't because I dominant.
So, like, did you ever have any issues with self-discipline? Like, did you ever hit a point where you're like, okay, now I need to be disciplined, or did you just kind of have this going into college? Was this always of how you were?
Oh yeah, no, heck no. There was a time, I think my redshirt freshman year, I was 330 pounds because I was eating McDonald's for breakfast. I'd eat 2.5 foot-long subs plus chips plus pop, and my body was just. No, it was my sophomore year because my redshirt freshman year I did okay, got a little cocky. Everything's going to come easy and all this stuff. So I enjoyed myself, hanging out late and doing whatever I wanted to do. And then all of a sudden, reality hit my sophomore year where there was I believe we might have played Penn State. Yeah, I think it was Penn State. Could have been my junior, but I broke through, beat the guy in front of me, and the quarterback was maybe 2 yards in front of me, but I was out of gas and I couldn't get him. So that was a reality. And this was the first game of the season, first Big Ten game of the season. I'm going, I got to change something. I brought down to about 310 pounds, lean, worked out as much as I can, had a strength coach help me out. I mean, it was, you know, to get to where I was my senior year for, like you said, an unknown guy, that was all hard work, you know.
And and tell us a little bit about, Ed, you know, the whole, like, your whole draft process and kind of like your experience with the Miami Dolphins, because I know we've been super interested in what that process was like back in the day compared to what it is like now, you know, that we see on TV.
Well, I had an agent that was out of Michigan. Actually, how I found this guy, my position coach was good friends with him. My senior year, back in when I was telling you about that Kansas State game, they had a lot of people trying to block me, and one of them was a running back. What he did is he speared my knee, and he busted my bursa. I had a bursa sack in the beginning of the season, played the whole season. End of the season, had surgery. Long story short, got a staph infection. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. So my coach said, hey, I got this agent I want you to meet. He's a trainer also, a master in jiu-jitsu. I want you to meet him. He's coming to town. He introduced me to him. I met him. And during the draft, there was a little bit of hubbub. I didn't get to go to any of the senior bowls or combines and things like that. One, I wasn't healthy. My knee was not ready and things like that. So I went up there and started training with him. I mean, he is as old school can. I did jujitsu in the mornings or at night. We're in the pool working out. We were doing outside hills. I mean, he had me, I was in the best shape of my life. So when the draft came, I knew I wasn't going to get drafted. They thought I maybe will get drafted in the later rounds, but it didn't happen. I believe after the draft was over, that's when his phone calls started ringing, and people were interested because they knew about me. And what he did back before the internet was really big, he had printouts. So every team that called and was interested in me, like Philadelphia, Tampa Bay, Minnesota, the Dolphins, what he did is he had their starting roster and their backups. And he looked at their defense, and we matched the team that had the similar defense to what I could play. And it just so happens the Miami Dolphins had a defense that was perfect. It was a tilt nose, just like I'm used to. I could play over the center, just shade inside or whatever. And their backup was a guy by the name of Warren Caesar. After we're done here, you can look him up. This guy was actually Warren Sapp was actually his backup. This is how good this guy was.
Yeah, no kidding.
But he was lazy.
Yeah.
So when I got there, they drafted a guy from Ole Miss by the name of Norman Haynes. Joe Green was going to come up, who was my defensive line coach down in Miami Dolphins. Mean Joe Green, I should say.
Mean Joe. That's awesome.
Yep. He was going to come up and work me out. It was either come to me to Minnesota during the winter, work me out, or go to Ole Miss in the heat and work him out. So he went to Ole Miss and worked him out. That's something he told me later on. So I decided to go to the Dolphins because of their defense, and it turned out to be better for me. Get down there. They had Norman, myself, and this guy, the starting guy, and Mark Caesar as the other four, and they were going to keep three. Get to camp. I'm young. I'm hungry. I'm in shape because all summer, all I did was work out in the pool, hills, jiu-jitsu train. I did all. I mean, I was ready. I was lean. I had 13% body fat at 305 pounds.
Yep.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
But I don't know where it went now.
Yeah, right.
Hey, well, you're an adult now, so it's a fair excuse.
It's totally justified now.
Yeah.
So I get there, and it's just one of those ones where I'm in awe. Like the same work ethic I had to get to that point. I was at practice early. If I needed to work on something, I worked on it. Whatever the coach told me to do, I did it. If he said, I need you to learn how to do this, go ahead and do it. If they asked for volunteers to do anything, I did it. It got to the point where in practice where a defensive end would say, hey, take this rep, rookie. Okay. I'd take his rep. Next one would say, hey, take this rep. Sure, I'll do it. Because I was hungry.
Yeah.
And then the guy who I was trying to take his job, which he didn't realize, he's like, you could take this rep because of who he is, where he came from, he was golden. He thought he was golden. So I started taking a lot of his reps. And then it's bad when your position coach goes, hey, that young dude's taking your reps. He goes, I'll be all right. So as the days went on, people started getting cut, and I'm still there. And it was just a nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Whenever I got the chance, I was there. I'm like, yep, put me in there. I'm ready to go. So it was just all hard work and mastering, learning, believing in what this guy told me to do. I mean, shit, he's Mean Joe Green. Am I not going to listen to what Mean Joe Green said?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with that.
I would not only listen to him out of pure fear, but also his experience in football.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's times where he just say, hey, let's do this. Camp alone was tough. We wouldn't get out of there till late in the night and then have to be there early in the morning. So we watched film, and he's like, he fast forward through the film and said, we'll look at it tomorrow. Go home and get some rest. Where other coaches would sit there, all right, let's look at every inch of this, and we're going to correct you and yell at you and do whatever. Yep. Not him. No, he was like, go home, get some rest. You already know what to do, and I'll tell you what to do tomorrow. Okay. All right, Joe. And I was rewarded with hard work. Real quick, there was one morning during camp, I think it was like the third week, there was 2 more cuts to go. And I'm outside just thinking about, okay, this is what I need to do. We had 2 different practice fields next to each other. One more in the morning, we practiced on the other. This is because they had grass back then. So we practice on one in the morning, practice on the other in the afternoon, and go to the far back one if we needed to. So I go to practice early. I'm out there. This is what I need to do. Let me get my mind right. And one day, this little voice was standing next to me. He goes, back in the 70s, if you were 300 pounds, we'd have to send you to fat camp. And I looked next to me, and it was Don Shula. And I said, oh, boy, it's just him and I. It's him and I. And he says, son, if you keep working hard like you do, I'm going to find a spot for you. And if that's not enough drive for anybody to work hard, it is.
Yeah, no kidding.
Exactly.
And then after that moment, veteran guys, offensive guys, because, it's like a scout team player too. So when I'm a scout team player, if you're a center or guard, I'm going to work you to death. So it's not like I'm going to let you push me around and do whatever. I'm going to work you to death. So they're watching film, and one of the veteran guys said, "Hey, man, keep doing what you're doing." I go, "Okay, what's that all about?" He goes, "Well, we're watching film." And Shula stopped and said, "Who is that kid right there?" At the time, 3 weeks in, he didn't know who the hell I was, even though he gave me you sign your contract when you get down there, but there's no guarantee. So once that started happening, I'm like, okay, let me keep to myself, do what I have to do, because in the beginning anyway, not many guys talk to you. That old saying, NFL stands for not for long, they mean it. A lot of guys don't befriend you unless they know you're going to be there. Because they don't want to, it's a tough world. They don't want to friend the guy and he's going to be gone, which is, understandable to a point, but makes you work harder. So
what about
with all the competition too? With all the competition, you would think it'd be really hard to be friends with someone who you're about to compete against for a roster spot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's so difficult.
So when you were in Miami, did you ever meet or interact with Dan Marino at all? Because he was an offensive guy, was it kind of?
No, well, we're all in the same locker room.
Yeah.
So you see him coming, and it's just like being starstruck. It took a while for it, to not get starstruck.
Mm-hmm.
He want to take guys out to breakfast, because he's like, "Hey, you want to go have breakfast?" And I'm like,
you're like, "Wait, me?" You forget. Right. You're like, "Oh wait, I play for the team. Like I'm not."
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm just as big of a deal.
I know.
Right. So he was a good dude, passionate guy. You think he was a middle linebacker trapped in a quarterback spot. If that can explain what type of personality he has, he was a great, fantastic. He wanted to win, and he was one of those guys that said, "I'm gonna do whatever it takes to win."
Yeah.
And I've witnessed it time and time again, and he was just a phenomenal guy. Like there was times where after I made the team, I got to travel and dress every now and then, but I always traveled because I worked hard in practice. And one day I think we flew out to San Diego and we lost that game, and guys are jaw jacking on the plane. I mean, we had this whole plane to ourselves, 50 guys all in the back of a plane that seats 2 on the side and 5 in the middle and 2 on the edge. And guys were jaw jacking, having a good time, and all of a sudden, Dan just stood up and shut the F up. We just got our butts handed to us, and you guys are sitting around here acting like there's nothing happening. So the plane got quiet. No more was said the rest of the flight. Other than
just shut the plane up the entire flight back to Miami. That's a cross country flight too. So
yeah, that'd be an awkward flight.
Dan Marino just bitched everybody out. It's like we should probably stop.
That's sweet.
I mean, but he was, like I said, he was a general. So you listen to the general.
He's the leader.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Was it hard to stay focused on football when you're in such a poppin' city like Miami?
No. I mean, if your mind's right, no, it's not. But you still go out and experience things. I brought my wife down after I made the team, and we got to enjoy the luxury of certain things. You surround yourself with the right people. I had older guys that I looked up to that looked out for me. Like I didn't have I had a veteran linebacker by the name of Chris Singleton. He played with New England for a while. He was from the University of Arizona. I'll never forget the guy. He goes, "We're going to take you out to dinner. Me and my wife take you and your wife out to dinner. I'll come pick you up, and we're going to hang out. We're going to hang out on Miami Beach." Excuse me. So sitting there, tell my wife what we're going to do. We're going Saturday. We get dressed. We're waiting. I'm like, "Hey, he's got to be here soon." Pick up the phone rings. I pick up the phone, and I answer. He goes, "Hello, is this Ed Hawthorne?" "Yeah." "Your ride is outside." And I'm like, "My ride?" I'm like, "Chris is supposed to come and get me." I look outside. He had a limo come and pick me up.
Oh,
nice.
So we get in the limo. Yeah. We go to his house, hang out, and then we go down to South Beach. We go to Gloria Estefan's restaurant. I don't know what to order. And he said, "Nah, this is what you're going to get." We're gonna get you a sirloin with
Awesome.
mushrooms and some kind of gravy sauce with asparagus and potatoes. And I'm like, I was wanting a cheeseburger and some fries. He goes, no, you can eat that anytime, but try something different. We ate at the restaurant. The sandwich was fantastic. I mean, the steak was fantastic. We go to a comedy club. We're sitting there just normal, hanging out. It wasn't at a club and things like that. And being an only child and not having brothers and sisters, I always observe and watch certain guys and see who I can, we're cool and we're good to hang out with, but I knew certain ones that wouldn't hang out with. So after that, my wife and I met this family that kind of had the same values as us. The husbands, we all hung out and did certain things. We go to some sports bars and some bars and clubs, but nothing to where we're hanging out till 9:30 the next morning, because club down in Florida stay open all night, pretty much.
Oh, that'd be dangerous. So I feel like I'd be
out
till sunrise.
Hang out with the wives, or we have done that a couple of times, me and the wife, and you go in a club with no windows and you come outside and you feel like a vampire.
What? Yeah.
You go eat, in the off season, you go eat breakfast after going to the club, take a nap. We used to go to a late night movie at 11 o'clock and then go to the bar, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, I know in Minnesota, they stopped serving alcohol at 2 a.m. In Miami, it's like 6 a.m. Like if you really wanted to get lost in that scene, you can.
Yeah.
I got one last question for you, Ed, really quick, and then I think we're going to call it here. All right. I just really want to know, who was the best offensive lineman that you ever lined up against one-on-one?
There was a guy that went to Northwestern. We're friends on Facebook. I can't think of his name at the time, but he was an offensive guard, got drafted to play for the New York Jets. He was just maybe an inch or two taller than I was, but he was a strong SOB. I mean, he was a strong, him and we battled, and it was a battle. He trying to get over around so he can get his running back to the outside. Him and I are fighting, and I'm fighting to keep him from trying to get around me. He was as strong as an ox, but he never talked trash. He was always a kind guy. Just like I said, we're friends on Facebook. We every so often we'll send each other's messages. But if I think of his name, I will send a message to you.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Sure. But he was a good guy. I never looked at all these guys like, ooh, he was the best, because it made no difference to me, because they're all 6'5", 6'6", and I don't like them anyway, because I got a short man complex.
Exactly. Short but quick though. That's the
Kansas
State guy learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ed, I do gotta add. I gotta ask. I do see you wearing a Tyrone Carter sweatshirt.
Oh, yeah.
Are you friends with him? Do you know him well?
Very good, good friend. He is my little Gopher brother. He's
nice.
A passionate guy.
Yep.
He is as honest could be. I'm from the urban area. He's from the urban area. The guy comes from nothing, made something out of it.
Yeah.
And he's continually giving back, trying his best to do whatever, training these kids. He'll in the past, there's not much football talent here in Minnesota, where he's finding them all. Kids are signing all the time. My oldest boy has trained with them since 7th grade. Awesome. He's going to Winona State to play football.
Oh, my brother went to school there. It's a good school.
Good, great campus.
Yep.
Great campus.
Great wilderness. Yep. I went to Zane and I went to UND, where they're in North Dakota, where there's the exact opposite geographical landscape. So I'd appreciate that if I went to Winona.
So we can't wait. They're gonna know who the Hawthornes are. Very few people that I push. Very few people that I support. I support my cousin with his boulder options. I support Tyrone Carter because I know what he's doing. He's a fantastic guy. Give you a shirt off his back. Always doing something to help people that grew up like him, that don't have much, and he's always trying to be an inspiration to youngsters today. Good dude.
Yeah, I was gonna say I met him one time at a Gopher football game because he was on a radio show, and we were able to talk to him afterwards. And he was so passionate about trying to bring football year round to Minnesota, and just like, we see basketball and baseball and hockey even, year round. We want to bring that to football, and just talking about his upbringing. And it was before my time, but I reckon I just know his name too from seeing highlights from, like, I think it was like a game from '97 when they played Donovan McNabb in Syracuse, and he had like 3 fumble recoveries or something like that. Like he was kind of a stud when he played at the U.
Yep, he was.
Yeah.
And when he came to the U, he came to school early, so he came before I left.
Yeah.
So when I was leaving, he came and he wanted to stay early. So they're like, "Hey, you mind if he stay in your apartment complex?" That was one thing about my roommate and I. We were the guys that, if you wanted someone to be a host on the recruiting, they're always picking me and my roommate, because we're, generally, good guys. So they want to surround them with, have their good thing. Everyone that I hosted came to the University of Minnesota.
Really?
So when Tyrone came, he needed a place to stay. Who did he stay with? In our
Hawthorne.
So
Love
he's a good dude, man.
Yeah, that's
actually
awesome.
one last question, and actually you can keep going really quick.
Oh, I was just gonna say, whenever he calls, he needs something, he knows he can always count on me to help him out with that.
That's good. That's cool. Yeah, he's a good guy.
And it's awesome to hear that he is a genuinely really good, kind person too.
Yeah.
As a former player, this is the last question we'll ask, and we'll get out of here. As a former player at the University of Minnesota, what are your thoughts on the current state of the program?
I think it's in the right direction. I mean, they're winning. I mean, the way the program is set up. I mean, it's been built since Brewster left and Jerry Kill came in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been on the up and up. So I'm excited to see where it's going. I hope they continue to keep doing what they're doing. I'm always going to be there, along with all of our other brothers. So we're excited to see. It was a great season last year for them. I just hope they can keep going. I hope they get some big boys in the middle on defense, and I hope those big boys on offense to continue to open those holes. That's the key, right there.
It is. Well, roll the boat, Skyma. Go Gophers. Let's keep it going. Yeah, you got to be elite. Well, with that, with that, Ed, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on and talk with us and answer our questions and talk about your experiences. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ed. Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
Hey, you guys all add me on Twitter. I'm old, so I'm trying to get all that stuff.
Yeah,
I am very impressed with your Twitter abilities, though.
Yeah.
Most people, I mean, my dad can't even use Twitter. So,
I'm trying.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Well, the really funny thing that I heard was the people who are like, I can't use this because I didn't grow up with it. But the famous response to that is, well, you weren't born knowing how to drive a car, but you figured that out. Like,
right.
Come on.
That's always the mentality.
Yeah.
Plus it helped, with my son doing recruiting. I'm like, hey, did you see so-and-so? Oh, let me check Twitter. He's a Snapchat kid. I refuse.
Oh, yeah.
Snapchat's fine. You don't need to get on Snapchat.
But, I mean, it is a good platform for kids who are trying to get recruited, though, because there are plenty of people who put their footage on there, and recruiters are definitely scanning the internet for stuff like that. So.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, pretty much every high school football player that I know, they put out a highlight reel on Twitter.
Yep.
That's what they want them to do, because it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Not mailing off VHS tapes like back in my day.
Yeah, I heard that was crazy. Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right.
One at a time. Boom. All right, fellas.
Thank you.
All right, Ed. We really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.